Monsters of War is a 2021 film directed by Jack Peter Mundy. It's written by Scott Chambers. And this is not really a horror film. It's not really an action film. It's not very dramatic. It doesn't really have a lot to offer. The positives, first of all, most of the performances are okay. The camera work is okay. We have some nice outdoor scenes. Some of the characters are reasonably well written. Some of them are a little bit boring, but I didn't dislike anybody. Nobody irritated me, which is always a good sign. But unfortunately, that's where the positives end. I read the description for this before watching it, and I thought, I have so many questions. The description I had was, something has awoken and a group of strangers must work together before prehistoric monsters and other deadly creatures take back the planet. And my main question was, how? How is this happening? And why are these strangers pulled together to fight for this? And also, what do the creatures look like? Well, we don't really get to see the creatures very much, which is a shame. And it's not one of those cases where the main threat is the unknown, because a horror film can be amazing even when we can't see the monster or the creature or whatever the threat is. That's not the case here. The narrative itself is very weak. It makes sense enough. We go from A to B without me really questioning how we got there. It's okay. We do get from the start to the end in a way that I guess makes enough sense. I still had some questions, but nothing too significant. But there's just not a lot happening. The characters, as I said, are okay for the most part, but not enough to carry the story. And the horror aspect is non-existent. And yeah, I'm a seasoned horror fan. I've got a very high tolerance for horror, as most horror fans do. The more you watch, the harder it is to feel scared. But there's no horror in this. There's no suspense. There's not really a lot of emotion in this at all. There were a couple of characters who looked genuinely scared, and I thought those performances were quite strong. But aside from that, Monsters of War doesn't really have anything to offer. It's not a good film. It's not a good story. The technical aspects are fine. What we see of the monsters is, I guess it looks okay. It's not exactly impressive, but it does the job. I don't mind it too much, but as I said, they're not really in it a tremendous amount, and it's not the absence that causes the fear. But they also don't look, well, I was going to say they don't look that scary. I wouldn't like to come face to face with them, but within the context of the film, they don't cause any fear. The horror element just isn't there. So unfortunately, it's a very weak concept, and the execution really matches that. And visually, some of it's okay. The performances are generally okay. The characters are fine, just not that interesting. And unfortunately, Monsters of War is just a very weak film.